Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. Tyson, I'm coming from an interesting background here today. I think you called me a mafioso before we hopped on.
Something like that. Yeah, when we got in, you were talking a lot with your hands, and I wasn't totally sure what was going on. But now you're in a hotel, Brad. Why don't you tell the people where you're at?
Yeah, I'm in Las Vegas right now. Not to gamble particularly. I mean, I'm here covering the big rodeo event that's happening here. So it's been interesting, man. I mean, just a bunch of Cowboys flying into Vegas. You think the things wouldn't mesh too well, but it's been good so far.
Finally, Billings, Montana rears its head, and here he is, ladies and gentlemen.
But Tyson, enough about me. Let's get into what we're talking about. Week 14 preview in the National Football League. We had a ton of teams off bye last week. They're all here. Only two teams enter the bye week this week, the Cardinals, and of course I had it, and I just lost it. Let me look that up. But Tyson, basically I'm bringing that up because it's the nitty-gritty, right? Like we got Cardinals Commanders, that's right.
Yeah,
only two teams on bye.
Most.
Yeah, right. So we're getting to the nitty-gritty here, man. Like we got playoff implications every single game here on out for the teams who are in the wild card spot searching for a division victory. It's happening. It needs to happen now.
Yeah, what is it, 5 weeks left total in the regular season here for the NFL, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, 5. Shout out to the Montana public education system. This is it. They're right now going on is a game that was going to fly by the over, apparently, in the Patriots and the Steelers going on right now. And one of those two teams in the Steelers is fighting for playoff position, and the other one's fighting for draft position. And that's kind of where we're at right now in the NFL when you're looking at some of these schedules. Could this team beat this team straight up? Maybe. But are they going to want to win? And that's kind of where we're really getting into things. And, they don't really outwardly tank until week 16. So we got some time.
So let's jump right into it, Tyson. Like we do, we're going to go through each game, give our early thoughts, what we're looking forward to. If we have any surface gambling angles before we get into money making time at the end where we give out our plays, you guys know the drill by now. Rams at Ravens. Ravens 7.5-point favorites coming off a bye. Rams with a big victory. They've had two good-looking wins with Kyron Williams, their running back in the offense. Now, Tyson, I want to see, is this offense fugazi for the Rams, or did they just play, a Browns defense that's really good, but like with that offense, I don't know. I mean, they took them toe-to-toe, but the Ravens off a bye, are they able to sustain that for the Rams side?
And do the Rams have enough team speed on defense to kind of be able to contain Lamar Jackson? It's going to be some Keaton Mitchell touches this weekend. I promise you it'll be Zay Flowers is obviously going to be featured. You expect, at least. I say obviously, but Baltimore has done some things to us in the past that have made us scratch our heads a little bit. But this is a perfect example. Like the Rams want to make the playoffs, but the Ravens want the 1 seed. And so I expect off of a bye for Baltimore to have some shit ready this week.
Panthers at Saints. Now, Panthers look better in their first game without Frank Reich, but still came up short, lost 21-18 to the Bucs and the Saints. Geez, man, it just it goes from bad to worse. I mean, they get down early. Derek Carr has 3 separate injury designations on the way out. Taysom Hill's missing practice this week, too. Derek Carr's been limited with a concussion. So there's a lot of questions in the air about if he's going to start or if it's Jameis Winston. And I think if Taysom Hill's out, how do you not look at the Panthers here?
Well, it's going to be interesting, and I'm a little bummed because we were one Jameis Winston injury away from Taysom Hill playing quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, which is always a good time. This line right here at 5.5 should tell you everything you need to know about how this season's gone for the New Orleans Saints. I don't think it says anything about the Carolina Panthers. I don't think the books or the odds makers were thinking, well, Carolina's turned it around. They were close last week against Tampa Bay. This is more, yeah, the Saints suck. We were a little slow to get all the way around to it, but they're under a touchdown against the worst team in the NFL.
Colts at Bengals. Now, both teams coming off big victories last weekend. Colts keep their playoff dreams alive. They keep their division dreams alive. And how about the Bengals? I mean, Jake Browning looks like he could be a solid backup after going on to Jacksonville and winning outright as a 10-point dog. Now the designation is Bengals -1.5. Is that an overreaction? To me, it feels that way. But when considering how bad this Colts defense is, Tyson, if Browning can do what he did against the Jags, I don't see why they can't win this game.
That's what's that website where you can buy like player stock? You like buy it and it's like stock trading, but for
Yeah, I
athletes,
don't know what it's
whatever
called.
that is. Sponsor us so we can plug you. But get your Jake Browning stock now because I think he put 350 up in front of the entire country last week here, and then he draws the Colts in the next start. I think that there's going to be some ripe opportunities for him to hit 300 yards again, and then all of a sudden people are going to be like, wait, can this guy play? Is this guy going to be the same thing we do with everybody? And we're going to, as the season goes along, potentially it'll catch up. But I'm hearing so many people, it's just the most amount of quarterback injuries we've ever seen. Like, this is crazy. I think if the pace maintains, we're going to end up with 8 less starting quarterbacks this year than we had last year in the NFL.
Of course.
So it takes so long for us to wrap our minds because we spend so long being like, oh, this team and this team and this team are super good, and we forget that everybody dies by the end of an NFL season.
Yeah, no, 100%. If we're talking next game, Jags at Browns, I mean, we don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to play.
They can't put him out there, dude.
Right? So we don't have anything. He returned to practice today. So there's a possibility that he plays. Now, the Browns with Joe Flacco, they actually look competent on offense at quarterback when they protected him. That defense, they got exposed last week against the Rams. I think there's some serious questions about how good this defensive unit is at this point in time. But if it's CJ Beathard, really? So Browns -3 at home in that weather with CJ Beathard, it's hard to look another way.
It also kind of feels to me like maybe there's going to be some Myles Garrett revenge action here. This was he didn't register a stat last week, I don't think, in that game, and that's not necessarily the kind of player he is. I expect to bounce back there. And honestly, CJ Beathard is the kind of quarterback where if you have a game wrecker like a Myles Garrett, that could just be it. I'm terrified of this game.
Bucs at Falcons, and one of just the weirdest games and weirdest lines that you can look at here because, while the Bucs, it's not like they've done anything spectacular that's going to impress you, Tyson. They're still in the mix for the division. They're a game back. If they win this game, they're in the lead. On the flip side, how about the Falcons being 2.5-point favorites? You're telling me on a neutral that the Falcons are, a half point better, a point better than the Bucs? Like, man, it feels interesting that that's the line here, especially how the Falcons play much better at home. But I think it goes back to, can you trust Desmond Ridder? That's the question I think everybody has in their mind in this one.
Well, that's a question they have in the locker room. That's a question they've been trying to answer in press conferences for a long time. Tampa Bay looks disinterested to me on defense. I think some of the things they've done really well this season on offense are kind of overshadowing. Like, Devin White is checked out, dude. That guy doesn't really want to be there right now. Most of that secondary group is just kind of just floating. And you can't blame them. And I can't wait because if Tampa Bay wins this game, we're going to start is the NFC South in 2023 the worst division of all time? Because every year there's something like this.
Lions 3-point road favorites at the Bears. This is interesting to me, Tyson. This screams, okay, it's outdoor weather. Bears, can they attack any of the weaknesses that the Lions have shown the past couple of weeks? That's where you have to look at this from a gambling perspective. I think from a football perspective, what I want to see is how this Lions team translates going to the cold weather in Chicago. 39 degrees on the AccuWeather. No snow as of now that I'm looking at. There's a possibility, but this is a test. If you want to be able to compete in the NFC in the playoffs, you're going to have to go on the road and win these football games. That's what I'm paying attention to in this one.
And they're built for it, at least the way they play, right? We know Jared Goff notoriously stinks outside compared to his inside. Like, the splits between outside Jared Goff and in the dome Jared Goff are all time. Like, just do yourself a favor and take a look. But they've done so much work to become more and more physical and really, we love when they throw for 340 yards a game. If it was up to Dan Campbell, they'd be running for 300 on everybody. The Bears defense is going to offer them a pretty good chance to do that because for as improved as they've been, it's against guys who stink. Like, the defense looked really good against Josh Dobbs. We were 3 weeks removed from being like, I can't believe Josh Dobbs is still starting in the NFL.
That's the thing too, right? Like, this offense, it presents much greater challenges than what the Bears, who have been proved on defense, have seen thus far since their improvement under Eberflus. So, yeah, I think there's a couple different storylines to pay attention to there. And, it's always fun in the NFC North, right? Like, when you get to the cold weather and you see – it just reminds me of just classic football. Texans 3.5-point road favorites at the Jets. Now, Tyson, there's a lot of storylines coming out. Now, Tim Boyle, who the Jets benched Zach Wilson for, has been cut. Seems like they're going back to Zach Wilson. If that's the case, people make fun of this and sneer, but that's an upgrade from Tim Boyle at quarterback. Zach Wilson can actually throw. So what I'm paying attention to here with the Texans, yes, they won last week and it was great. CJ Stroud, and now he's thrown for a ton of yards, but he's starting to make some rookie mistakes. I think you can see that if you watch the tape. Now, the stat line doesn't necessarily show that, but if you watch the tape, if you kind of plug it in, you're like, oh, we missed that throw there. Oh, he had a bad decision there. Ooh, that was a rookie moment. Against the Jets, we've seen them be able to punish quarterbacks all season long. I'm wondering now, especially on the road coming out of the Dome in Houston, if this is a spot that's gettable for the Texans, and after all that momentum, they go on the road and drop an interesting one against the Jets.
Well, and no takedown. And that's going to be a kind of a big deal here for the Houston Texans because that dude has somewhat been the engine that's made this thing go. As much as it's been Stroud or Nico Collins. And Nico Collins is coming off of, 181 yards he had
something crazy
last Sunday, something ridiculous like that. This is going to be an awesome test. It'll be a battle because are you really a one for Nico Collins? And that's kind of the question that we have to answer. I know that's not too much game specific, but if Houston can feel really confident in Tank Dell and Nico Collins going forward with CJ Stroud, I don't know how much it matters that he's going to continue to make these rookie mistakes. The dude has the chance to be the NFL leading passer as a rookie. And with Jacksonville dropping that game, this game becomes huge for Houston. What the hell was Robert Saleh talking about when he said, Zach always gave us the best chance to win, but I wanted to see if Tim Boyle could provide a spark. What does that mean?
I don't know. I don't think anybody – I don't even think he knows, man. Yeah. He went from a shit-eating grin in the first part of the offseason with the Rodgers to now a sheepish little look on his face like, oh, please feel bad for me because it's just – come on, man. I know it's a tough situation and you kind of feel bad for him because, like, they fully expected to go into this with Aaron Rodgers and they were dealt a tough blow early. But this has been a mismanagement of all sorts of things, Tyson.
Do you think he has any actual say over who's starting a quarterback? But it doesn't feel like this is his call at all.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's Joe Douglas. I don't know if the Woody Johnson's calling the shots. Who knows, man? It's the Jets. That's all you need to know. It's the Jets. Yeah. Nothing makes sense there. Seahawks at 49ers. Now, Seahawks, if you didn't know, they won the Super Bowl last week. So we can put the season to bed. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl, beating the Eagles on the road. But now they got to come – Yeah, I'm sorry, the Niners. My bad.
I was like, where are you going?
The Niners won the Super Bowl by beating the Eagles on the road. But the Seahawks now off 10 days rest after a shootout against Dallas. They now go into San Francisco, who will have to fly back from Philly. 10.5-point favorites for the Niners. Feels justified based on what we saw, but a divisional game, rest. What are you thinking for this? What are you angling here?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if San Francisco is going to get up in the way that they got up last weekend. They exercised some demons on Sunday in Philadelphia. They absolutely stomped a hole through the Philadelphia Eagles. But we've seen time and time again, like there's no trap games in the NFL, but there are letdown spots. And San Francisco has been vulnerable to those under Kyle Shanahan for 5, 6, 7 years now, however long it's been going on, where it seems like either they get caught looking ahead sometimes or they absolutely dominate somebody just to kind of, not roll out of bed until the second half. And Seattle looked better on offense last week against Dallas than they have all season long. Kenneth Walker is going to be back. I think Seattle obviously needs this game more than San Francisco, but if San Fran wants to solidify the win that they had last week and take over the number 1 seed in the NFC, they have to start this week. So I don't see how, they're not going to get up for this one, but I'm just curious to see if Seattle they're going to be full of piss and vinegar. And if they jump on you early, we've seen like Pete Carroll is going to control that clock, and it becomes very, very hard, even with the skill position players that San Francisco has, to make a dent in a 14-point lead because, you only get the ball 3 times in the second half.
Vikings 3-point road favorites at the Raiders. Both teams coming off a bye. You expect Kevin O'Connell kind of formulated plan with Josh Dobbs, but Tyson, the Raiders, I got to say, man, they've looked much better since Antonio Pierce has taken over. Josh Jacobs is involved. The offensive line, blocking. Devontae Adams catching balls, being explosive. The defense flying around. Like, they have not given up a ton of points. You know, they got shelled by Kansas City after the first quarter. Bad performance there. Kind of expected, right? Like, Kansas City ultimately at the end of the day still has way more talent when you have Patrick Mahomes versus Aiden O'Connell. 3-point road favorites for what we just saw from the Vikings. That's a lot of respect for Kevin O'Connell coming off a bye here. Is it justified in your opinion?
Well, I think the number makes some sense if you look at it from, okay, we think Minnesota can just score more points than you. This Raiders defense has improved or improving, but it's not, nearly on the caliber of some of the good teams in the AFC. And how much of this is the Josh McDaniels was fired, and how much of it is like Jimmy Garoppolo just isn't doing dumb shit for the Las Vegas Raiders? Because the offense hasn't changed a bunch. It just is, we're sustaining drives. We're getting the ball to our best players. The ball's out quick. We're not, trying to hit these home run shots, and we're not throwing the ball directly to a middle linebacker. And they're able to kind of just piece their way down the field. Or if this was, again, 3 weeks ago, Josh Dobbs, this is a hammer spot. Like, Minnesota's going to go out there and crush them. But we have a bad taste in our mouth, and it's kind of up to Minnesota to prove to us that 5 or 6 or whatever, however many in a row that it was, that they had won there matters. Because at the end of the day in the NFL, it doesn't matter about feel-good stories. We don't care. All you're doing is hurting yourself if you're going to be picking at 15 instead of making the playoffs.
And I want to point out, Justin Jefferson is expected to be back this week. He practiced again in full. Maybe that has something to do with this line as well. Probably worth a point, maybe to the line. Not quite sure. We'd have to see. So, maybe that's driving this as well. And so that's something to keep in mind. Broncos at Chargers. Now, Chargers 2.5-point home favorites against Denver, who started to play better. I mean, let's be honest here. Russell Wilson, as good as he's been this season, that was not a very good game against the Texans, and obviously ended with an interception in the end zone when they had a chance to win. 3 interceptions on the day for Russ. He's done a lot to be an integral part of the offense and really carrying the offense so far this season. So that might have been a stinker. Chargers defense, since Brandon Staley kind of fought back against the media, it's improved. Who have they played? We'll see here. Is the Broncos offense able to test the Chargers defense like we've seen other teams in the past? Have the Chargers turned the page? Their offense was a complete joke against the Patriots defense. The Broncos defense has started to play better. Are we getting the same level of performance from the Chargers? I have so many questions that I want answered in this game.
Well, I do want to just say the Chargers offense is a joke. And we do this because Justin Herbert shows so much talent. Like, when you're watching him, it's like, oh, when this thing all finally clicks, and we just kind of bake that into our evaluation of this team. The reality is, if Austin Eckler has a bad game, or Josh Kelly, when he has to fill in, doesn't, average 4.5, 5 yards a carry and catch balls out of the backfield, it just comes down to, can you stop Keenan Allen? And this is year 3 now that's been the offense, and that can't continue to beat teams within your own division. That's kind of my angle here. Like, how many times did Denver have to watch this movie before they realize how it ends, right? And the Chargers offense last week, the Patriots defense is awesome, and everybody's kind of freaking out. Oh, they're tanking perfectly. It's not good enough to hold this offense to 6 points. Like, the execution in the high red area, the low red area, or really anywhere it just doesn't make any sense, right? And maybe it wasn't a Kellen Moore issue, or maybe it wasn't a Mike McCarthy issue in Dallas. Maybe we got a Kellen Moore issue going on.
Which is interesting to think about. I mean, this offense for the Chargers has fallen off a cliff, since early in the season. Now, what's changed? Well, Mike Williams is out, of course. Quentin Johnston, that's supposed to be the guy. He stinks. But Tyson, I will say, we got to shout him out. He had a much better week last week because he caught the ball, which is good. He got open. He was targeted. Yeah. So very good, QJ. I want to point out as well, Josh Kelly's going to get about the same amount of reps this week as Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler's performance has been down since returning from his high ankle sprain. I actually think this is going to be a good boost for that running attack because Josh Kelly runs downhill hard. It just hasn't been the same for Eckler. So I think we may be seeing a change in role for Eckler next couple of years if he can't figure it out, where becomes more that scat back or sits in that slot. Tyson, what do you think of that?
Well, none of these running backs all offseason that Gotta pay, like, these running backs are getting pissed. They're not getting compensated the way that you want. None of them have done the rest of them any favors. Josh
No.
Jacobs took forever to get rolling. Jonathan Taylor is now, like, as soon as he's about to take lead back duties back over, he's out with a thumb injury. Austin Eckler misses, 3/4 of the season just to play. Like, we know he's going to score touchdowns. There's, like, a lot of other dudes that you could draft in the 5th round to catch those checkdowns in the backfield there. Saquon Barkley, like, you're seeing it. He's not good enough to, single-handedly lift this Giants team out of the gutter.
Well, I don't even know if Walter Payton would be.
That's what I'm like. It's a tough spot, but there hasn't. If anything, the argument has kind of just solidified itself against paying some of these guys, and it's a true bummer because just because the production is the same doesn't mean the quality of player is. But unless Christian McCaffrey is holding out, I don't think there's a single running back in the league where people are going to be like, yeah, we can't play without Derrick Henry, or we can't do this. Like, look at the Browns right now. What's the Browns record if Nick Chubb is fully healthy? Do they maybe win one more game?
Probably, but like that's the thing. So I think that's a great point. And like Derrick Henry went out with an injury last week. Tajay Spears, 80 yards, 90 yards. So it's a lot of different things. So yeah, it's a good point. Something to keep in mind. Bills at Chiefs. Bills coming off a bye. Chiefs coming off of a disappointing game against the Packers, to say the least. Now, I got to say, if the Bills can attack the Chiefs defense like the Packers just put on tape, Tyson, this could be a Bills win. This could be a Bills victory. I'm wondering how this defense for the Buffalo Bills comes out and plays against the Kansas City Chiefs, who are going to have a chip on their shoulder and something to prove. This is a big game. I think the Bills are circling this one. They think this is a statement win if they can get it. But on the flip side, it seems like every single time we think the Chiefs are done, they come out with a performance, especially at home. This one might be no different.
And every time that we think the Bills need in a must-have spot, they let us down. And so it's going to be interesting this week. This one truly is like must win. If they lose, it's pack it up. It's over. Did you see this story that came out? Was it today? The Sean McDermott, shouting out the 9/11 hijackers for their teamwork or whatever that was.
Oh my God. No, I didn't.
There's some wild stuff going on. Apparently, he might not be the best at giving locker room speeches, which we're not here to comment on. It was just pretty funny. If Kansas City wins this game, everybody's back in.
Yeah, of course.
Because nobody wants to bury the Bill. For some reason, it's like, well, Mike Greenberg just threw a fit because somebody insinuated that Josh Allen was turning the ball over too much. These are your talking heads in media. These are the guys that basically feed you the opinions that you have, right? Like, whether you like it or not, you're listening to it all the time on Drive Time Radio. It's going to formulate a little bit in your head. If somebody just had the nuts to call out this Bills team for what they are, then maybe we wouldn't have to be doing this, because the conversation is, well, Kansas City can't afford to lose this, especially against a good Bills team. What good Bills team? If Kansas City loses this game, it says way more about the Chiefs than it does about Buffalo. And that's just the reality of the situation.
Buffalo would be 7-6, Tyson. They're 1-4 currently away from home right now. Not a good road team, and this is a tough spot to go into. Kansas City's dropped 2 at home, though. That's kind of interesting. Sunday Night Football, Eagles at Cowboys. Cowboys out the 3.5-point favorites after what we saw on, what was that? Sunday afternoon, I guess, last week against the Niners. It's pretty justified. Cowboys coming off a 10-day rest. Offense looked great at home against the Seahawks. What do you know? They're at home against the Eagles, who looked like a complete sieve on the defensive side of the football, and now they're going to have to go and face the Cowboys defense. This looks like a recipe for disaster, but we've seen in the past, the Eagles have stepped up when it matters the most. Something feels a little bit different this year. This is a chance for them to prove that that's not the case.
Yeah, and on the flip side, it's a chance for Dallas to, gained equal footing for the first time in essentially 2 regular seasons here within the division. This is a massive game for the NFC East. All those implications. Brad, if the Eagles tackle, they win the football game. It's just, we don't know if that's going to happen.
Right.
As great as Dak Prescott has been, why is this year the year that people are now starting to realize, like, oh, this dude puts up crazy numbers?
I don't know. It's every year that he does it.
Yes. Yeah. And now because they it's because we don't have a true MVP candidate for real in the league at quarterback. And so Dak and Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts are kind of the beneficiaries of that. I don't truly know what to expect from this game, but I think everyone talking about blowouts or Dallas is going to come in here or stay at home rather and really just kind of put foot in the Philadelphia Eagles hasn't been paying attention to the way this rivalry works, to the way the NFC East works. 10 days, 5 days, 3 days, like they could go play each other twice on set. This is just, remember the first one? Like when Philadelphia was supposed to absolutely run through Dallas because Dallas hadn't beaten anybody and they sucked and the 49ers beat them by 30. And Philadelphia almost found a way to lose that, walked them down to the 5-yard line with penalties there at the end of the game. I expect some weird NFC East stuff to happen in this game. And honestly, I got to play in this one, so I'll save it, I guess.
Ooh, well, I got to play in this one as well. I'm curious. And Tyson, let's end on a great Monday night game. Woo, Titans at Dolphins. Dolphins 13.5-point favorites at home. We get Tua Tagovailoa and this high-flying Dolphins offense facing off against this Titans defense that was once proud and is just as obsolete as pretty much anything you can imagine. Oh, God. So,
but they try hard. They play hard.
They do. They do. Will Levis leading them in down into Miami, the offense. There's some controversy, I guess, because Levis and Hopkins were arguing on the sideline. Like, people haven't seen that happen.
What do you want your franchise or want to be franchise quarterback doing? Do you want him to roll over to a 35-year-old wide receiver that's going to be on his team for the next 6 weeks, or do you want to have him put his foot down and say, "No, this is my team. I don't care that you played with this guy or that guy or the numbers that you have. I threw the ball where the ball was supposed to go."
Yeah. So I just can't believe that's a thing that people are like. It's controversial. Like, seriously, like, makes no sense to me. It's football. Tyson, what do you think in this one? Derrick Henry's going to play. He said he's good to go. So that's a big piece for the Titans. What are you looking forward to in this one? Because I think we know the Dolphins are going to win unless something funky happens like last Monday.
You cursed it.
But I think I want to see some more Will Levis. We talked about how we wanted him to air it out. We got a little bit of that last week. But what do you want to see?
I just want to see the young dudes from the Titans on offense. I want to see if any of these dudes are worth keeping. I want to see if Chikakonkwo is worth sticking around here. I want to see, Kyle Phillips has been good. I want to see Tyjae Spears continue to work in. There is very little, I think, if you're a Tennessee Titans fan, to get excited about the future of this football team. They have, the cupboards are bare. That's just the reality of the situation. If Will Levis continues to show you just enough to tide you over, I think that's okay. But if he comes out and plays really well, it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the season. We found our guy. But I don't like the balls that he throws to DeAndre Hopkins almost don't really count for me as I'm factoring into next season, because I know that Treylon Burks isn't going to make a single one of those catches, right? Like this is a bad skill position group. And then let's see if Miami can put up 100. That's on the other side of the ball. It's like, is Tyreek going to get to 2,000 in this game? Right. But let's be real. Like, we want more from Jalen Waddle because that unlocks a different thing from the offense. We want to see Mostert kind of take 65% of the touches out of the backfield and then watch Devon Achane be electric with the other 35% that he's going to get. Tennessee has nothing to offer Miami. So it's not going to show us, Vic Fangio has figured this thing out, because this is Mike White in practice, brother. Like, for real.
Yeah. Well, and if he could, let's put it this way too. If Levis comes out and shreds up that defense, we got a real problem here if you're the Dolphins.
Yes.
So keep that in mind, because that's more telling than anything. It'd be great to be like, okay, Levis looks good. It'd also be like, what the hell are the Dolphins doing? And that would be a red flag.
As bad as Pat Mahomes has looked, and as bad as that Chief offense has looked, you look around the AFC. And it's like, oh, well, all those guys are better than Will Levis.
Yeah, exactly. So, Tyson, that's going to do it for our preview. Let's get into Money Making Time. And what we do every single week, we don't shy away. We don't hide. We don't run. We tell you when we recap what we got to do. Yes, me too. But pretty good week for us, Tyson. I went 3-1, Lions Saints. It got a little sweaty at some point. I couldn't believe it. And then finally they turned it on, got it over, 46.5. Panthers plus 5.5. This was one of those classic ones. You got to hold your nose and just trust the number, trust the situation. Panthers get home. They lose by 3. Titans, Colts. That was a barn burner, a fireworks show. They go easily over 42.5. Then how about the teaser play of the week? Eagles up to 8.5. Jags down to 2.5. So we were wrong on both angles there. Couldn't believe it, but that's okay. 3-1 we will take. Tyson, that is good enough for being positive 1.64 units on the week.
It kind of, I thought we had a soundboard for a second. I was like, when did we get that? I went 2-2 this week. It wasn't good. I didn't deserve these at all. Lions 4.5, like you mentioned. I thought I cruised to that, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this isn't going to hit. They're going to lose the game outright. That could home. Falcons money line. It's never easy when you play Atlanta. Nope. Eagles plus 2.5. I'm a moron. I apologize if you tell that. That wasn't even close, and it was fairly predictable to see coming. I let fandom get in the way, and I'm probably going to do it again here in a minute. Play of the week, Browns, Rams, under 39.5. What do you want me to say, dude? Like this flew by immediately. It was like, you know the vibe sometimes when you have an under on a game, and you could just tell within the first possession that you lost? That's how that felt.
Yeah, cruises to 55 points. Like, it was pretty unbelievable.
Close.
Tyson down only 0.33 units on the week based on the juice after 2-2. So I'm a positive 0.07 units. Woo, man, we're really bringing home the bread with that.
Yeah.
Tyson down 1.49 on the season. So the podcast on the year down 1.42. So not bad. Not bad. We still got a few weeks to go. I think we're starting to figure some things out a little bit, Tyson. Like, we just
Dog, you've been saying that since week 6.
Week 6. Yep, that's true. And we had a good week 6. No, I had a horrible week 6. Now I'm looking at it. You had a good week 6. So I think it'd be a good sign for you to keep it going on that front. Okay, let's get into our picks for this week. Tyson, I lied to you. I actually have 5 picks because I talked myself into another one, and you know how those go. So let's start with me. Since you know what, I started with you last time and actually it was bad juju for you. So let's go here. I know we talked about this one being a little bit scary, but I just think the situation and the number I'm getting for this, Browns -3, I think I got to lay this. What we saw Jake Browning do against that Jags defense was able to carve him up by being efficient. I think we're going to be able to see the same with Joe Flacco. And on the other side, if it's CJ Beathard against that Browns defense, I don't think he's going to be able to handle that in this conditions. And then if Trevor Lawrence plays, Tyson, how mobile is he going to be? That's one of his biggest factors and aspects of his game. And if the Browns defense is going to get after him and he's not going to be able to avoid sacks, this could be a long day. So I'm taking the Browns only laying a field goal here, as the Bucs, I think, aren't quite sure who's going to start at QB, and I think we can take advantage.
I think it's a total farce. Them saying that Trevor Lawrence is going to play this week. I don't see it. I don't expect it. My first play here, Brad, I'm going with the Detroit Lions -3. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, halfway through the season, whatever it was, I would have never imagined that this was a 3-point spread here for the Detroit Lions facing the Chicago Bears. Don't let them fool you at 4-8. This offense needed 3 tries at a game-winning field goal, and they messed up 2 of them. They should have lost that game against Minnesota going away. This is a bad football team. I think the only way that Justin Fields will play himself into a job next year is if the defense carries them to wins and knocks them out of the, at this point, the Drake May sweepstakes, although they're still going to pick number 1, baby. And that's the thing. I'm going Detroit here. I just think too big, too fast, too physical, and what is Chicago going to offer them to expose this Detroit defense?
I don't know, because I was thinking that, how they've been exposed is through the past, like is, DJ Moore going to be able to do that? Like, but is Justin Fields going to be able to enough time? That's the other question. Is he going to be able to do it in the conditions? So I was taking a long look at this one too, Tyson. Ultimately, I didn't play it, and that's been a couple of times with the Lions for me that I've regretted. So hopefully for this case, I'll regret it again, and I don't mush you by jumping on. I'm sticking to it, man. Panthers +5.5.
Your number.
It's a great number, man. The 4s are getting more prevalent. The 5s are getting more prevalent. I'm getting 5 here, 5.5 here against the Saints team. I got to say, if Taysom Hill's not good to go, what is this offense? And if Jameis Winston, right? If Jameis Winston starts, we get variance. We could get blown out. We could also win this game outright for the Panthers. And if it's Derek Carr injured, I'm sorry. What we've seen so far, that's what's going to scare me. I'm taking Panthers +5.5 in another divisional game on the road where I think we're getting too many points.
you're going to have to run some analysis or something at the end of the year to see how many bets we've had on the NFC South, Brad, because I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons money line here, playing Tampa Bay at home. I could take the points, but at minus 130, I'd rather just take them to win the game. It's a Younghoe Koo walk-off all day long. It's not even a debate. Desmond Ridder at home against a bad team that doesn't really want to be there. I think Atlanta wins this game. I think Atlanta might be giving themselves a little breathing room here in the NFC South as the season comes down to it, because I don't know how many times I have to tell you guys, I hate the Saints.
Yeah, we know you do. And sorry, Tyson, minus 148 it jumped up to here on FanDuel on the money line.
It's sitting in my bet slip here.
How about that?
130. Oh my goodness. We've only been talking for a half hour too.
I know. So minus 148, something jumped up here. And you said, yeah, because it's minus oh, you know what? No, that's on me. It is minus 130. I looked ahead the wrong game here. I don't know what's going on with my FanDuel. So let me adjust this. Okay, officially minus 130 for the Falcons against the Bucs. All right, we're on the right screen here. But dude, they scare me. And you have the balls to pick them every time I do. They screw me. So I'm just staying away. Like you told me, like, dude, it's time that you're done with them. So I'm done with them. That's what it comes down to for me. Shoo, man. Okay, so we previewed this a little bit, and I think I'm going to go with a situational spot here. And you did a good job of explaining it. So I'm going to steal a little bit of what you were talking about. But I'm taking the Seahawks plus 10.5 in another divisional game. This is a complete sell high point for the 49ers. Like the books are telling you they're a 5.5 point favorite against every team in the NFL on a neutral. That is crazy to me. Yes, they're awesome when they're healthy. They're really scary. In a situation where they're familiar. A Seahawks offense last week, it looked like they figured some things out. A defense who I don't think is that bad that we saw against the Cowboys. They get time to rest and prepare against an offense they already know. 10.5 is nuts to me. So give me Seahawks plus 10.5, situational spot.
I'm on the exact same play here for essentially the same reasons. I don't know, like you saying it's a sell high spot on the 49ers might make people think that we don't believe they can win the Super Bowl, which is not true. I'm just saying that in this particular week where both these teams are, Seattle is going to come out just on a level that they were not on Thanksgiving. If you have that game in your head as to why, San Francisco is going to run them out the building, that's not how this one's going to play out. It might end up being a 49ers blowout, but it's going to be different, right? And so I'm on Seattle here. I'm very grateful for the 10.5 number.
Yes, for sure. So get that in. Tyson, my fourth play here, Eagles plus 3.5, minus 122. I hate it. But if you're going to give me the hook in this game, I'm going to have to take it for a team that I do still think is a better football team than the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys have been running hot. They've been running hot at home. The Eagles defense looks horrible. The Cowboys offense looks great. You know what that normally says to me? Play the opposite of what you're expecting. Because in the NFL, things change quickly. It's called not for long for a reason. It's not just about careers. It's not just about fads. It's about week-to-week stuff. Eagles defense could come out and look like they did against the Dolphins. That's completely possible. Dak Prescott could turn the football over. That's completely possible. So your preconceived notions about what you think is going to go on because of what we saw last week and 2 weeks, I think you got to handicap it for what it is. NFC East, Cowboys, Eagles, the better team, in my opinion, is getting the 3.5 points. I'm going to take that every day of the week.
This is weird because I'm on the same play with you again for essentially the same reasons here. This is my fourth one, so we will make that the play of the week for me. I haven't lost an Eagles play of the week so far, but I think I've lost them every other spot that I've played them. So the play of the week here is good juju for the Birds. Dude, I'm not selling any Eagles stock at this moment, but if they do lose to Dallas and it's an embarrassing fashion, then I think, you have to look in the mirror as the Philadelphia Eagles and be like, okay, well, maybe 10-2 or 10-1 that they started at was, that was smoke and mirrors. Because if they lose this game, they're probably not going to win the division. I think that there's more mental things at stake here than just playing football. But I also understand that the chances of Philadelphia running the table for the rest of the regular season are the exact same as they are of them getting blown out by Dallas. Like, that's just, if they win this game against Dallas, they're going to beat Seattle. They're going to beat the Giants twice. They're going to beat the Cardinals. We're going to look up, and they're going to be 15-2, and everyone's going to be like, well, maybe they figured it back out. Because the reality of the situation is in the NFL, 20-point losses happen. Is it like – and, you can pick 100 different reasons. David Carr is on TV saying it's because Jalen Hurts can't read a defense. Somebody else is saying it's because they can't tackle or they can't cover. Maybe all those things are true. There is not a unflawed football team in the NFL, right? Like, the 49ers are the best team in the league right now, and PJ Walker beat them. It's just This is the way the league works, man.
Tyson, my play of the week, Colts Bengals over 43.5. I can't believe this feels low to me.
It does.
You know what I mean? Like, it just, like, now the weather, it's going to be outside in Cincy, so I think that could impact things a bit. Now, why do I like this? The Colts defense to me is still a sieve. Just completely unacceptable with Gus Bradley running at cover 3 that everybody knows how to beat now. Like, just no wrinkle, no imagination. It's just, hey guys, we know how to beat this, but we're still going to run it. That's kind of like what Gus Bradley's doing. If Jake Browning has confidence, Zach Taylor, I thought, was one of his better games that he's ever coached against the Jags last week on Monday night. If he's able to do something here, they can put up points against this defense. And on the flip side, I mean, the Colts have scored on everybody. It doesn't matter. They would score on the 85 Bears with the way this offense is going with Gardner Minshew. I could get burned because it's outdoors. I don't think that's going to happen. This is a young Bengals defense. As much as I love Lou Anarumo, they haven't quite meshed as quickly as I expected. So I think this is gettable. And I think under 45, that key number, under 44, that key number too. I like it here. So give me play of the week, Colts Bengals over 43.5.
Brett, I'm going to throw 3 in here at the end of the weekly specials tab here on FanDuel. Just, if you know me, you know I'm a hunter. And so there are some things on here that are enticing to me. One of them is in that game you just talked about. Gardner Minshew and Jake Browning to combine for 550 plus passing yards. It's plus 350. I like that a lot. And then 2 very, very long shot plays. But if you put $5 on either one or $10 or whatever you're comfortable with, you could be sitting pretty no matter what else you bet the rest of the week. Deron Bland to have a pick 6 is plus 3,400.
Oh, jeez.
The games he's played. I mean, it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel real, but at 3,400, I like that. And then Sauce Gardner and Derek Stingley to both record an interception is plus 4,700. CJ Stroud's been turning the ball over. Derek Stingley has been playing fantastic, and Zach Wilson might have taken care of the ball for 3 weeks in the middle of the season. I'm hoping this dude comes out and goes, yeah, I'm going to play how I want to play because you guys have thrown me in the trash 4 times. And I'm like, what happened? If I play bad, you bench me. Okay.
Right.
I've been benched 3 times already. This doesn't matter to me. At 4,700, the 2 best corners on the field. And let's be honest. It's Derek Stingley on Garrett Wilson, and it's Sauce Gardner on Nico Collins. Those guys are going to get hyper-targeted.
Wow. Great angles there, Tyson. I love that. Not official plays. These are sprinkles. Yes. Type of stuff that we play in our chalkboard at. Tyson, where can they find that for other plays similar to the ones you just laid out?
Yeah, they're in the Chalkboard app, the App Store, Google Play, wherever you download your apps. ISWIS presents the Roundtable Bets. That is the group name. You type that in, or really any combination of those words will let you write in. It's free. Like Brad said, we got the weekly props in there. We have every Sunday, Brad's throwing 3-legger anytime touchdown parlay. And for the early window, for the late window, we're going to have some Sunday night stuff that's fun, Monday night stuff that's fun. We're nearing the end of it. It is much harder to make, like, you can make a lot of money in the regular season. The margins get real slim come playoff time. We only have about 5 weeks left of these ridiculous things that we can throw in because I promise, you think you know ball, and then the playoffs start and these scores go way down and your guys aren't scoring touchdowns and you're looking silly with your touchdown parlays because nobody's in the end zone. So let's get them home now.
Absolutely. And on the other side, like, subscribe, and share if you haven't already. For watching on YouTube, smash the like button on the way out. For listening in podcast form, please rate and review if you haven't already. And like we always say, send it to a friend, send it to an enemy. Any way you guys share it, we do appreciate the support. Stay connected with us on socials. X, Instagram, TikTok. It's all the same handle at ISWIS_pod. Tyson and I will be back next week. We're going to be breaking down everything we just saw in week 14 like we normally do. College football episode. We are starting our bowl preview. So if you're like, oh, what's going on with bowl stuff? We're previewing it, man. We're betting it. We're ready to go.
We're talking about the FCS. Whatever you think about the bowl season, it doesn't matter because we have FCS quarterfinals this week. We got the semifinals coming up, and we're almost to the national championship there. So if you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know if I want to watch the Pinstripe Bowl, turn on some real competitive college football and just get to learn some of these NFL players, because in 3 years, when you're the one with them on your fantasy team, you're going to look like a genius.
Absolutely. So we got a lot of content coming out for you on the football front still as we keep chugging along here in this football season. It's been great so far. We appreciate everybody's support. We hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.